I'm getting questions from some people saying, you know, I love the idea of house calls, and if I do this, will people really pay more for house calls? And I get it, because up until now, you've been taught to charge the same as everyone else, or even lowball your fees to get people in the door. So the idea of charging more when they can get the same services if they walk down the street scares you. But I have to warn you that this thinking misses a huge opportunity. Imagine if Steve Jobs had said, I just don't know if people will pay for a device like the iPhone. I mean, they already have a phone and an iPod to listen to their music, so I just don't know about a several $100 phone. And I have to tell you, if Steve Jobs had listened to that line of thinking, if he didn't anticipate what people wanted before they even knew that they wanted it, the world would be a very different place. So I want you to recognize with house calls, you are sitting on a gold mine, the most unsaturated, untapped market in the health and wellness industry. The opportunity you have to create an impact like absolutely no one else can. So the question, will people really pay more for house calls? Yes, 100% absolutely. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 psychological triggers that will make your ideal clients gladly pay more for your premium service. And I'm going to continue to use Apple as an example because I'm pretty sure that Steve Jobs would have absolutely loved house calls. Now, the first trigger I'm going to walk you through is novelty. I want to take you back to 2007. The world was walking around with a basic flip phone. We were able to talk and text, and everyone was pretty happy with what we had, right? Then Steve Jobs took to the stage and announces, today we're introducing 3 revolutionary products: a widescreen iPod with touch control, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. But it's not 3 devices, it's 1. And we are calling it the iPhone. Apple is reinventing the iPhone, and here it is. At that time, it was so novel. And there was an opportunity to take things that already existed out there, right? People already had phones. People already had what they thought they needed. But he took a concept and applied the same exact concept of the phone and applied it in a completely groundbreaking way. And what happened? The world looked at the iPhone and they thought, what is this amazing device? I've never heard of anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. I've never experienced anything like it. So here they are looking at their $30, $40, $50 phones, and then they feel this longing for what the iPhone can give them. The opportunity to have all of those functions and capabilities, have 3 devices in one, things that they never knew they needed, even if they maybe had their iPod, but to have it in one device. To be able to do more with a phone than just talk and text. Why would I just want to talk and text if I could do all these other things, right? They were excited about it. They were intrigued by it because it was something so new, so innovative, and so novel. And that is the first psychological trigger that is so powerful. It's so powerful in how Apple used it. It's also extremely powerful in what the house call model inherently offers with what house calls are. Think about it. In any given industry, in the health and wellness world, the typical experience for a client is to come to your office, studio, gym, go to your environment, to your location to receive the services that it is that they want. Even though they're already experiencing the services, let's just put that out there. You come along and you step onto your stage in your community, and then you introduce the idea of house calls to someone. Imagine you're at a marketing event and someone approaches you and wants to learn more about your practice or your business. And you say, this is who I am and I take care of this community with house calls. The reaction that happens when people get exposed to a novel concept, our brain lights up, our brain gets excited. Just like we got excited when we saw something like the iPhone, Apple was able to create that using novelty, and house calls inherently give you that trigger, give you that experience that subconsciously people will automatically just start to feel and emote that experience, because what happens is when you start to talk about the very idea of house calls and introduce that concept to them, the experience and the response you're going to get is not just same old, right? That service they can get down the street, where the services are the same, maybe the marketing messages is the same or very, very similar. They're trying to figure out how are they different from one another, and then all of a sudden, bam, you come along with house calls. And they're like, whoa, I've never heard of this before, what is this? That reaction is powerful, because in that reaction is novelty. So the people in your community who don't even know house calls exist yet, who haven't been exposed to that concept yet, are going to be inherently that much more excited about the concept because of that reaction, the emotions that are happening in their brain. And they're going to start to think, and whether they say it to you or not, but the reaction that is going to happen within their mind and the story that they're going to tell themselves is, I've never heard of that, never heard of this. I can't tell you how many patients of mine, when they heard about this concept, they were like, whoa, wait a second, you offer house calls? Like, really? Like, how does that work? What is that? And they got really excited by the concept because they got exposed to something completely different. Now, here's what's interesting with novelty. This isn't just market research. This isn't just theory. This is psychologically what has been proven to happen in the brain when we get exposed to something novel. Our brain lights up. It gets excited. We associate novelty and newness with pleasure. We associate it with curiosity. We associate it with excitement. We associate it with something that is going to be a new way to solve the issues that we have. It's a new solution for us. So when people see or are exposed to the concept of house calls, whether that's on a website or something you post on your social media or a conversation you're having with someone, the first thing they're going to think is novelty. I've never heard of this. Their brain will chemically light up. There will be all these chemicals like dopamine going through their minds. They're all so excited about what this experience is. And that isn't just something that's a conscious thought. It inherently happens. So when you first introduce the concept of house calls to them, you better believe that they're going to be excited. And when you can get people in your community excited about what you offer and instantly differentiate yourself, you are already one step that much closer to explaining how awesome this premium service is, and also in the mind of the client, why they'd be that much more willing to pay for it. Because of how powerful novelty is. When people look at novelty, it inspires them to take action. It inspires them to want to learn more. Just like the iPhone, once we found out about it, what did you want to know? Want to know more about it? How does it work? What does it do? Novelty inspires curiosity. Novelty inspires. Not only I've never heard of this, but that the people that you want to market, the best of the best in your community, that you're going to focus your marketing efforts on, those hyper responders, when you focus on that, they're going to be inherently more curious. And when they're more curious, what happens? They want to ask questions. They want to get more information. So different from this experience when they feel like it's same old, I know of this, I've heard of this, you know, it's so easy to let that pass by. But the very thing that you want to have happen in your marketing is engagement, is interest, is conversation. We haven't even got into actual marketing strategies yet, but looking at these triggers and the mindset of your potential client, this is why novelty is so powerful. People will also associate curiosity and novelty with another very important word that will help you stand out, and that's innovation. They will look at you with a new level of authority and presence in your community because they're going to see that you've offered something, you're offering something that no one else is. It's like a breakthrough for them. It is groundbreaking for them to be able to experience that. And when you can create that, it's literally like, this is the most blank canvas for you to work with. And what I was saying earlier about this being such an untapped opportunity is that we aren't even close to saturation with house calls. The resurgence is just happening. It's happening now. And because of that, you have a unique opportunity to stand out. And this first trigger of novelty is so powerful. It can practically stand on its own, and house calls can deliver that inherently. Novelty worked amazing for Steve Jobs. Novelty for my house call practice worked incredible for me, and it worked amazing for you. It could be absolutely incredible for you. But what makes this even stronger is to actually piggyback and look at the other triggers that make house calls inherently more exciting, more intriguing, and stand out more from what other business models are that your people, your clients are getting exposed to. Novelty sets the stage. Novelty sets the stage for the emotion, what it is that they're feeling. Just like when Steve Jobs stepped on the stage and he introduced this concept, people wanted to know more. So what can happen next? The next powerful trigger for house calls is the art of simplicity. Simplifying. The very solution that people are looking for. We inherently, as human beings, we live by the law of least effort, right? We want things to be as simple as possible. We would never choose the path of most resistance. We choose the path of least resistance. We want to have the easiest path ahead of us. Think about what the word simplify means in house calls. If someone has the choice to experience going to a location, an office, a practice, versus being able to experience the same services in a very completely different way that is simpler for them because they don't have to leave their home or their office, they are going to be naturally that much more inclined to choose the simplest option. That is what we are attracted to. It's like if you're given the option to lose weight and one person says you have to work 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week, and someone else says, no, you can actually do it 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. What option are we going to choose, right? We'll choose the easiest one. To create that balance, because we take on a lot of things in our lives, house calls inherently provide simplicity. Using Apple, before he even delivered the iPhone as a product, when Steve Jobs had launched the iPod, he said the iPod is like having 3,000 songs in your pocket. Genius. Genius way to explain what this product can do. And what happened? When people heard that, they immediately started to think of what that experience would be like for them. How powerful that message was to think, what would that be like to have 3,000 songs in my pocket? I wouldn't have to have all of these CDs that are stashed away. I would be able to have instant access to all of my music. What inherently happens when simplifying, when the art of simplicity as a trigger, as the way our minds work, is we start to paint the story in our minds of what that can feel like. When you've already surpassed expectations of the norm with novelty, and then you introduce a concept that is simple, it's even more groundbreaking for them. So people are creating these attachments of what simplicity means, like they did with an iPod, like they did with an iPhone. House calls are inherently very much the same way. They inherently trigger the very same reaction. And the art of simplicity is so powerful, not just as a psychological trigger, but because it sticks. Simplify has this stickiness to it. It's easy for us to remember. That idea of 3,000 songs in your pocket, it's genius because of what it triggers in the mind of a consumer, but it's also genius because it's really memorable. And when we are looking to schedule a service, buy a product, work with someone, we are trying to figure out how does this person fit into my life? How do they fit into the story of my life? How can they solve the very problems that I'm trying to figure out, or questions or challenges, even if they didn't know that they existed, right? People don't know that house calls exist, not nearly enough are exposed to that concept. But when they get introduced to that concept and they want to understand more, and then they realize how simple that solution can be for them compared to all the other options, again, they are inherently that much more inclined, willing, and happy to pay more for a service that can deliver all of that. So using the example of that marketing message that Steve Jobs used for the iPod, let's look at what that means for the house call model, because this is about simplicity in terms of how you message and how you connect with your audience so they can create their own story. The first element of simplifying comes down to one simple phrase, and that's I come to you. House calls. With house calls, I come to you. I bring my care to you. I bring my services to you. The next element is I come to you so you can feel better. I come to you so you can feel better. Think about how that relates to your specific profession, right? What are the issues that you solve? Who do you help? How do you help them, right? But look at this concept. I come to you so you can feel better, and this is where we tighten it up. This is where we complete it. I come to you so you can feel better without the hassle. It's like having 3,000 songs in your pocket. I come to you with house calls. I come to you so you can feel better without the hassle. Think about the simplicity that implies when someone hears that, and where this type of messaging gets really powerful. And this, by the way, is the framework for all of the marketing systems, the sales systems, all of the infrastructure to build in a house call business. When you apply this and when someone hears that, what do they think? It's not just about the words. It's about what the words mean to them. If you're talking to a mom with a couple of young kids at home and it's hard for her to pack up the kids so she can go and see you, when she hears, I come to you so you can feel better without the hassle, she's already painting a story in her mind of how you fit, of how you can help, because you've delivered such simplicity. They are literally imagining what this awesome concept can feel like, so that house calls, they can literally sell themselves on the concept when they see that. If you've got some busy professional who works 80 hours a week and is living basically in his or her office and can't leave the office to get the care or services he or she wants, when they come across the emotion and come across a message like this, I come to you so you can feel better without the hassle, and they don't have to deal with all the issues that they would have to deal with if they came to more of a traditional model, that simplicity is powerful. If they are engaged by what a concept is and then can see the simplicity of how they can do this, and they can start to imagine what it's like to experience that, you're already more than halfway there in the mind of the client, in the mind of the consumer. That process inherently leads into trigger number 3. We inherently want answers. When we get exposed to new things, new ideas, we want to understand more about it. That's part of why we start with novelty, why novelty is the first trigger here, because once they understand, or once they get exposed to a new concept, once they get exposed to house calls, and then they can see how simple house calls are, the next thing they're going to want to know is they want to get an explanation for why. Why house calls? Why house calls for you? Why are you offering house calls for me? We inherently search for answers. We inherently search for answers when we are looking for something new. And when people get exposed to house calls, you now have an opportunity to tell them what they will get out of it, to tell them what they will experience. And there is this great quote by a man named Simon Sinek, who's an expert in identifying your why and finding your why. And he says this, he says, people don't buy what you offer. People buy why you offer it. So you see, it's not just about the service. It's about what house calls represent to them. And when you look at how Apple talks about their computers, they don't just say, we sell great computers, we make great computers, would you like to buy one? They say, we believe in challenging the status quo. And the way that we challenge the status quo is by building products that are beautifully designed, user-friendly, and easy to use. We also happen to make great computers, would you like to buy one? In those 5 seconds, you understand what that entire company is about, and doing it in a way that's highly relevant to their audience and to their consumers. So remember in the workshop, we had talked about the 4 benefits of a house call business, what those benefits are. This is where this comes in. This is where these benefits are so powerful. Because when you can explain why you do what you do, and not just what you offer, you're creating even deeper attachment in the mind of that potential client. When you talk about convenience, when you talk about, I offer house calls so you have a more convenient experience, so you don't have to leave your home, so you don't have to leave your office. This is how I care for you. When you talk about the time that people will save, I believe in offering house calls so you don't have to deal with the time sitting in a waiting room or a reception area. So you don't have to deal with traffic. So you don't have to drive that long to see me or take your lunch break to come see you. This is why I do it. You're explaining why house calls. You're explaining why you offer house calls, but you're explaining inherently why you're offering house calls for them. And when you talk about how because of that, You offer house calls so you can achieve greater outcomes with the people you love to serve, so you can assess them in their own home and environment and see them in a way that no other professionals will ever see, because they're seeing them in an office. And when you top that off, that you offer house calls because of the amazing experience that you want to provide for them. And consumers will always pay more for a better experience. They will always be gladly willing and more interested to pay for something if they know it's a better experience, even if it's something they already have. Flip phone, iPhone, $30, $200, $400, $600, whatever they were charging for the iPhone, whatever model it was. It's because of the experience that it gives them. People don't buy what you offer, they buy why you do it. And house calls are all about, I provide house calls so you have more convenience and you can stay in the comfort of your home or office, so you have more time back to yourself. You get your time back. You don't have to spend your time coming to me, and I can also give you assessments in the comfort of your home and office and take care of you in a way no one else can. To give you an amazing experience in how we work together, the results we can achieve together, all in the comfort of your own environment. When people understand the power that house calls can give them, it's not just about the service anymore. It's not just about what you offer. It's about what house calls can give to your community, give to those hyper responders, the people that you want to work with. And these three triggers work so beautifully together because they paint a story. They paint a story of why you are the best fit for them, why you are the best solution for them, and why it should be an absolute 100% no-brainer for them to work with you, pay more, commit to working with you, and love the experience as a result. The concepts of novelty, leading into how simple house calls are for the people you want to serve, and ultimately explaining why you do it, is where these house call benefits, is where the house call model really stands on its own. This is why your community will pay more for house calls. This is why, because of what it gives them, how it impacts their lives, how you stand out from what anyone else is doing in your community. And you can run away with it by letting this process also naturally happen. It's a beautiful process that allows the house call model to truly stand out. And as I've broken this down for you, right, as I've broken down for you how powerful these triggers are, it's safe to say it's the same thing that I would say to you. You've gotten exposed to the house call model. Something about this model excites you. You're looking for something different. You're looking for something that's going to create a different way to run your business, to be able to live a life outside of your business, how you make your money, how you serve your clients, right? And then I'm showing you now the simplicity on how you can run a business by not having to deal with startup and overhead, by how you can market efficiently, how you can have a better work-life balance. And this is also why I'm explaining to you why I'm doing what I do, is to help show you and give you the freedom that I was able to create in building a house call practice that generated 6 figures, working less than part-time. This is why I do what I do. It's for people like you that are looking for something different and looking for the solution on how to do it and how to do it right. Because the concept of this is simple, but the underbelly of what it is that you need to do and understand, I want to make sure you can avoid all of the mistakes, all of the trial and error, all of the time and resources that I had to spend figuring this out myself when there was no one out there that could show me how to do it. But now I've done the hard work for you. Now I've built the groundwork for you and figured out and perfected over the course of several years how to do this and how to do it right, so you don't have to think about it. You can literally drop into this program, drop into the house call formula, plug into these systems, and apply them so you can start seeing your house call clients in less than 90 days and have all the freedom that you want. Showing you how to understand your market. If you figure out, okay, how do I need to understand my market so I can get in front of them and understand the needs of my clients, I'm going to show you that. If you're figuring out, okay, what are the systems that I need to attract those hyper responders, to get the best people to me who will gladly pay for house calls, I'm going to teach you that. If you're wondering, how do I sell this? How do I, once I got that interest, how do I convert them over into clients, into patients that will stick with me for the long term? I'll show you that. And if you're wondering, how can I accelerate my profits so I can have a business that's successful in a matter of weeks as opposed to years, I'm going to show you that too, every step of the way. And to piggyback that, if you're wondering, what are the systems that I need? How do I make this efficient? How can I do this virtually or automated so I'm not working on all that admin stuff and wasting my time and not being able to do the things I love? I'm going to show you that too.
Thanks for watching. Take a second to like this video and then subscribe to House Call Practice so you can get the latest episodes, and also helping other freedom-seeking health professionals like you learn how to build a practice where you can work less, make more, and break away from the high volume grind. I'm Dr. Jen, and I'll see you next time.